Hello, my name is John Anton. I'm the lead steel forecaster for IHS and a part of the IHS Pricing and Purchasing Service. I'd like to give you an update on the steel market. It's sort of a bad news, good news scenario. I'd like to emphasize both parts of it. Here in North America and really nowhere else in the world, there have been some recent supply disruptions which are causing a little bit of tightness in supply and also a price spike. A couple of things to emphasize. It's really here in North America, so it should have no impact on buyers anywhere else in the world. And it's not something that's going to last long term, but it is impacting the market right now. Early in April, there was an outage at a facility, the United States Steel Great Lakes facility in Ecorse, Michigan. Produces sheet steel for quite a few auto parts and automobile companies. So it did have some impact there, and it has tightened up the sheet market. The mill should be practically out through all of April. The finished time for the repairs is unclear, but probably early to mid-May. It should be back online. They're working to try to get it online, and that supply should be back up. But for buyers who have been depending upon the Great Lakes facility from U.S. Steel, they're having to find alternate supply. The second impact is a holdover of the extremely cold winter. This is the worst ice this late in the year on Lake Superior in about 3 decades. This is important because most of the iron ore supply in the United States is in Minnesota, and much of it is shipped via Lake Superior, then Lake Huron down to steel mills in Indiana near Chicago, near Detroit, and it has cut off a lot of the iron ore supply. So we are seeing mills such as the Gary Works of U.S. Steel near Chicago are also offline or operating at severely curtailed, and we think other mills are probably curtailed as well, just not making as many public announcements. What does this mean practically? The sheet mills have asked for increases of varying amounts. Generally, they're not getting everything they've asked for, but they are getting price increases, $30 to $50 a ton. So it will cost more to do business in the second quarter of 2014 if you're a sheet buyer. The bad news is that not only you're facing higher prices, but some of you may have a hard time getting supply, or at least it's more of a seller's market than it was. But we haven't heard of anyone having to shut down a manufacturing production because the shortages are that severe. The good news is the mill will be fixed and the lake will thaw. And therefore, these are short-term problems. Don't let anyone tell you that this is a problem that's going to last all through 2014. It won't. Basically, by the second half of May, it should be winding down. By the end of June, this should be gone. It's a basically one-quarter blip. Up in April, first half of May, down second half of May, and through June. By July, you shouldn't see really any indication that this ever happened. The other piece of good news is, even now, imports are offsetting some of the problem. That this would be a major problem were it not for import tonnage, but U.S. prices are far higher than almost anywhere else in the world, $150, $200 a ton higher than other parts of the world. Imports were already flowing before we had the early April problems. So this is just making imports even more attractive. It is offsetting some of the damage. So if you can turn to imports, then you can probably get some relief. Even if you don't turn to imports, competitors will, so that should keep things down. The final thing to point out is, in the past, this wouldn't have been quite so bad because service centers not only are processors, but they hold inventory. The inventory they hold is kind of a buffer against problems. Well, with better inventory management, plus the financial trouble they went through, it emerged successfully after 2009, but it changed the way service centers do business. They used to do about 4 turns a year and hold a considerable amount of inventory. Now they try to do 5 turns a year and try to hold effectively about 20% less inventory. More profitable for them, generally good for the steel market, but in terms of crisis, they're less of a buffer. And service centers are having some tight inventory as well. Another thing adding to the problem, but again, this should be playing out. Now, it'll take them some time to restock. They'll really restock in June, So you could see continuing tightness at service centers well into July, but even there things will improve. So again, a bad news scenario, but it's a spike. It's not a new level. The good news is it will dissipate. If you have any questions, please contact us at john.anton@ihs.com. Thank you.